On the front burner again today, remember, the House of Representatives will be sitting today. The Senate, I might add. And then we'll await what they eventually decide or how the debate goes on that 2013 budget proposal. Well, we do have a report which we'll start with. And as always, we'll continue thereafter.
The rising domestic debt profile.
Budget issues have been a subject of disagreement between the legislature and the executive for some time now. For the presentation of the 2013 budget, a showdown was expected. Dates shifted, but at last President Jonathan arrived at the joint session of the National Assembly with his presentation.
2.41 trillion naira for recurrent non-debt expenditure.
Beyond the many areas that both the arms of government won't agree on, such as oil benchmark, revenue from gas and external borrowing, the heads of both houses did not mince words on their path to adjust what they refer to as a mere proposal.
The objective that the difference of US dollar, $5 be channeled exclusively towards reducing the deficit in the budget.
Parliament is constitutionally empowered to make inputs. What the Constitution enjoins Mr. President to lay before the National Assembly are mere estimates, not immutable figures.
With these statements, the legislature has made it clear that they truly matter in the successful approval and final draft of the budget. One thing that is of concern here is the many unanswered questions relating to what particularly the House of Representatives called the poor implementation of the 2012 budget. This, many have a feeling, may affect the approval of the 2013 budget.
For the first time in the history of this great nation, there will not be a budget for a given year. Perhaps until the 2012 budget is performed, I do not think the 2013 budget will be passed by this House.
The rift between the two arms of government on the budget was again highlighted when the President's advisor on public affairs, Dr. Adeyinka Ajayi, pointed out that the lawmakers were not fair to his principle.
When a woman that is good enough to be the World Bank president is the one that is managing your economy, and you now say that Nigerian economy is not being managed according to global best practice, it is fallacious. Pure fallacy.
But the heads of the House did not waste time in replying Dr. Ajayi. Senate President David Mark says in a statement that we take exception to such unwarranted attack on the office of the President of the Senate, and we urge Dr. Ajayi to know his limits. Amid several other things, the Speaker of the House also hit back at Dr. Ajayi. He said it is apparent that Ajayi is dabbling into areas where he's totally ignorant about. End of quote. The feelings of the lawmakers on the 2013 budget may not be so pronounced, at least for now, but they may go a long way in determining how well the budget will fare.
If you continue this way, the same parameters as previous years, the same system, the same modus, the same kind of benchmarking system, etc., we can only have the same result.
For now, we can only wait and watch as events unfold on the 2013 budget in the coming days. Sheon Okinbaloye reporting for Channels Television.
Well, the Chairman, House Committee on Aids and Loans, also a member of the Joint Committee on the Medium-Term Expenditure Framework, Representative Adeyinka Ajayi joins us this morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you very much.
But it's interesting, as it is unfortunate, that this scenario, as some put it, use the words, unfolding as it is. But can there ever be a middle ground in this kind of situation where the House says $80 per barrel? The executive arm of government says, well, we already proposed 75. And then they talk about the Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2007, which some of you say it's already a law, which has got to be obeyed. But can there be a middle ground somewhere here?
Yes, there is always going to be a middle ground in issues of governance. You would always have, occasionally you have extreme positions, and you have, at both extremes, and you always come together and find a common ground for the good of your people. The issues revolving around the 2013 budget is quite more fundamental than what we see at the moment. The issues date back to years of either poor preparation and presentation of budgets, to poor implementation of the budget and poor monitoring of that implementation of the budget. That's what we've found in the past. And what we are quite glad about is that the present crop of leadership, the executive that we have now, at least are trying to streamline all these issues and put them on the front burner such that we don't have the degree of poor presentation or preparation of the budget. And that's what has accounted for the timing of the presentation of this budget. Having said that, there are other fundamental issues that have not been addressed, and they're quite critical. Last year, you'd remember that the budget effectively was passed in April. Why April? The budget presentation was done in December 2011. But because of the poor preparation for the budget, when I say poor preparation, I mean an inclusive activity of all the government arms, both the parliament and the executive, working together to put a budget in place. If we had done that, if we had done proper consultations, the effect of the decision of the parliament on the January increase or removal, partial removal of petroleum subsidy would not have had the effect of a delay in the consideration of the budget. That controversy necessarily caused the president to come back to Parliament in February to present an amended budget. We wouldn't have had an amended budget if we had done the proper consultation before we presented the December budget. And that caused the delay. The budget was finally passed in April. Now the executive are quick to say, well, we only had this budget in April. That is very fundamental. If we had done proper preparation for our budget, we won't be where we are. And the same thing has technically happened this time. The Fiscal Responsibility Act says that the medium-term expenditure framework and the fiscal strategy paper should be presented to the Parliament at least 30 days before you bring the budget.
Which has been complied with?
No, it hasn't.
The MTEF?
The MTEF and FSP came a few weeks before the President informed the Parliament of an intention to present a budget. Where did the budget come from? The MTEF and the FSP are supposed to be the ground norm of the budget. Without the approval of the MTEF and the FSP, you can't prepare a budget because you don't know what parameters Parliament would approve. So where did the budget come from? Now we're back where we are. The President has brought a budget benchmarking, for example, just one ingredient, benchmarking crude oil prices at 75. Parliament is saying 80. We ought to have been here in June before the presentation of the budget. Now we found a situation where we don't have an MTEF and there's a budget.
So if we had an MTEF, would they have sorted all these problems out?
We would have trashed these problems out. We would have come to that middle ground, which is where we're going. We would have been at the middle ground in August, such that in September, when the President presented the budget, we would have been on the same page. Now we're not on the same page. So we're going to be working on getting a middle ground first before even considering the budget.